In this jaw-dropping, real-life inspired story, a courtroom becomes a battleground for justice when a racist cop assaults a quiet, unassuming black man, unaware he's kicking a decorated SEAL Team 6 operator. What follows is a powerful unraveling of arrogance, racism, and unexpected reckoning. Get ready for a narrative packed with emotion, tension, and a powerful message about respect, dignity, and the cost of judging someone by their skin. Now the story begins. The courtroom was unusually quiet that morning. There wasn't the typical buzz of conversation between prosecutors, clerks, and defense attorneys. Instead, there was tension, thick, palpable, and electric. Something about the way the tall black man sat quietly in the back row drew subtle, uneasy glances. He wasn't dressed in a suit like most spectators. No, he wore a simple black t-shirt and jeans. No flash, no posturing. Just presence. His name was Malik Hart, 39 years old. He carried himself with the steady composure of a man who had lived more lives than most could imagine. His eyes, sharp, assessing, had the weight of combat and loss behind them. The kind of eyes that had seen the worst of humanity and still managed to keep quiet about it. What no one in that courtroom knew, not the judge, not the bailiff, not even the defense team, was that Malik had served in SEAL Team 6, multiple tours, countless operations that would never see daylight. He had medals, citations, scars, and silence. His service, like many in his unit, was cloaked in shadow. Discretion was the mission. So when he walked in, sat quietly, and folded his hands in his lap, he was just another black man in courtroom. Until Officer Brad Connors walked in. Officer Brad Connors was the type of man who strutted even when he was standing still. 42, white, broad-shouldered, with a shaved head and a permanent scowl that seemed surgically attached. He was the arresting officer in a high-profile police brutality case. Ironically, he'd come under fire for excessive force during a protest a year before. A young black teen had ended up in a hospital with broken ribs and a shattered cheekbone. Connors claimed he felt threatened. The defense parroted the same tired line. He feared for his life. Today's hearing was for a separate incident, alleged harassment and racial profiling during a routine traffic stop. The defendant was a Latina mother who claimed Connors had pulled her out of her car and slammed her to the ground for talking back. Her 7-year-old daughter had filmed the entire thing. Connors entered the courtroom with the same cocky swagger he always had. To him, this was just routine, another system that would protect him. Another judge who'd look the other way. Another lawyer who'd fumbled the cross-examination. As he walked past the rows of spectators, his gaze landed on Malik. There it was. That look, that deep-seated contempt masked as casual curiosity. Connors had perfected it. That flicker of disgust he reserved for black men who didn't lower their eyes. And Malik? He just kept looking forward. Calm. Still, like a mountain that didn't flinch for the wind. But Connors felt challenged, threatened even by what he didn't know, and he hated that. The judge recessed the hearing for lunch. People filed out. The bailiff stood by the doors. Connors lingered near the prosecution table, then made his way toward the exit. As he passed Malik, he couldn't help himself. He muttered under his breath, "Figures they let just anyone in here." Malik didn't move. Connors leaned down, inches from his ear. "You people don't belong in places like this. This ain't your fight, boy." Still, Malik didn't react. And that silence, it enraged Connors. He took a step back, and without warning, kicked Malik in the leg. Hard. Gasps echoed through the courtroom as onlookers froze. Malik stood up slowly, his frame rising like a skyscraper. Calm, collected, Connors smirked, until Malik spoke. "Do you know what it takes?" Malik said slowly, his voice level, "to spend years in enemy territory, hunted every day, just to come home and be kicked like a dog in your own country?" Connors blinked. Malik stepped forward, his eyes boring into the officer's skull. "I've crawled through caves in Kandahar, rescued hostages in Somalia, and taken down terrorists in places you can't even spell. I've been shot, stabbed, and nearly blown apart. I buried brothers who never came back. And not once did I let an enemy disrespect me the way you just did." The judge had returned to bench just in time to hear the tail end of Malik's words. "Sir," the bailiff said, stepping forward cautiously, "do you need to file a complaint?" Malik looked Connors up and down. "No," he said. "Let the courtroom do what it was built to do." As the afternoon hearing resumed, the defense attorney for the Latina woman stood up, but instead of calling the next witness, she turned to the judge. "Your Honor, I'd like to call a surprise character witness to the stand, Mr. Malik Hart." Connor's face drained of color. Malik walked to the stand with a grace and power that seemed to quiet the entire room. He gave his full name and background. Chief Petty Officer Malik Hart, United States Navy, SEAL Team 6, retired. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. He spoke of the values he upheld during his years of service: honor, courage, integrity. Then he detailed what happened during recess. Every word Connors whispered, every gesture. The courtroom was frozen. Even the judge leaned forward. Malik's testimony ended with a simple statement: justice doesn't wear a badge. It wears truth. If a man in uniform kicks a fellow citizen because of the color of his skin, then he isn't serving the people. He's desecrating everything that uniform stands for. The court went into chaos. News outlets caught wind of the event. Footage leaked from courtroom security. The video of Connors kicking Malik, a war hero, spread like wildfire. Public outrage exploded. The judge ordered Connors arrested for assault in court, obstruction of justice, and contempt. But it didn't end there. The mayor issued a public apology to Malik and launched an internal investigation into every case Connors had touched. Dozens of charges, dozens of wrongful arrests surfaced. Connors was later sentenced to 5 years in federal prison. And Malik? He walked away as quietly as he'd entered. The story of Malik Hart reminds us that true strength is often silent, that not every warrior wears their battles on their sleeves, and that racism, when confronted with dignity, truth, and unshakable honor, crumbles under its own weight. It's a lesson we all need. Never judge a man by the color of his skin or the silence in his eyes, because some of the quietest men carry the loudest stories, and some of the strongest men don't need to raise their voice to change the world. Subscribe now for more true story-inspired, cinematic narratives that expose injustice and elevate truth. Don't forget to hit the bell so you never miss an upload.